Hey everyone, welcome back to Happy Learning. So, I just explained you in the last session. I just explained you what and why F in Angular, right? So here we are going to create an environment in our basic or a local machine. I don't have a Mac machine. I regret I don't have a Mac machine because the performance wise when I'm using Angular I did got a very good performance in a Mac compared to Angular in a Windows machine. So I regret for that, but still I'm very happy to explain you something with Windows machine also. So the thing is, we need to have some basic things in our application just to run your Angular. The first thing is you have to have a Node.js with you. Okay, the first thing is a Node.js. So here it's we create an environment where you can install it. It's kind of a Maven in Java. The same way we are going to. It is a package installer. It's going to give us some kind of CLI command line interface to the Angular itself. It has, but it help us to get Angular in our desktop or in our machine. So all you need to do just get into home and you just download the recommended of to the users, right? Because it's a stable version. You if you're kind of like me, or if you're kind of person who going to explore more, you who are ready to write a trial and error code and who are ready to do some R&Ds on a code, then definitely go with current. That's what I gonna do, and I do actually. So but if you're not, then just click on it and you'll be able to get something like this. Okay, so this is MSI, and all you need to do is click on it and just install it. So I had it already installed because my system is not that new. It is it's an old system, so that's why it takes some time. So that's why I did install. How you can check the installation whether it is done successfully or not? You have something called PPL in Angular, where you're going to write a print, all that is a abbreviation is there, PPL. And so there we can just write on a node and you'll be able to get this kind of environment where you can write 1 plus 1, you'll be getting 2 here. And you'll be able to write lots of other stuffs, console.log, and I'm going to say hello world. Yeah, I know it's cliche and it's very basic, but still. So all you need to do is just Control C to exit, and again if you use Control C, it will get out of that one particular paper. Yeah, that's pretty much whether you're able to, whether you have a Node.js or not in your application. And make sure and wait for my Node.js CSS also. Then I'm going to explain you the Node.js and how you create microservices with the Node.js. So that's going to be the nomenclature of one my new the future series about the Node.js, if it goes good. Okay, so once you're done with the installation of Node.js, so you'll be able to just I recommend you to open an administration and run this command npm install -g angular and CLI. So I'll just explain you what it is. So npm is a package installer. So if you, the install is a command where you say like something going to install. The package I'm going to install in my system is nothing but Angular. Though if you see like ng and v, if I check the version, I'll be able to get sorry, I'll be so I'm able to get a version there. So I'm currently working on Angular 9, so I have a version of Angular 9. So it's something like -g is there, right? It's a very cool question, if you ask me. If you see a G, I haven't mentioned here, and if you feel like why it's G, then you're in the correct way, you're on the correct track, guys. That's the exact question I got when I first time I checked something is going to install in a proper G level. G is nothing but a global, and here you're going to access this Angular in an entire desktop, in an entire folders, right? So you're going to install it in global way. So if you install it, if you want to install something in a folder level, so you can directly, you can negate the G. And for example, if you want to install different version in a different folder, so I suggest not to put G because it will install in a global level. So this is pretty much Angular CLI. I'll be able to get this successful message that it will say like added 42 packages from 22 contributors, removed 20. So there are lots of contributors. I might have explained you in my previous video how Git contributors work. These are all open source, guys. This is not going to pay, you're not going to pay a single rupee for this. So once after this, I'm going to create a new project, so that I actually done. That's going to be that's going to take a very big, if your system is not with SSD, if your system is using HDD, and that's a hard disk, in that case it's kind of annoying, because it will take much time to install something in your system if you have HDD. So I suggest you to get into SSD. Even I suggest myself to get one SSD, but because of this COVID, I had a thought of getting into SSD, but because of this COVID, I'm not able to do. I need some reason to tell our I need to talk with myself like, okay, it's okay myself, and don't be sad because it's COVID, you're not going to do it. I need to have something, some reason to talk with me, right? So that reason here is the COVID. So that's why I didn't put SSD. So it's been a 3 years I'm working in this on this desktop, but just because of the COVID, I'm not able to do something good with this desktop. So jokes apart, so once you want to create a new application, you just need to get into your directory where you want to create an application. All you need to do, ng is something, it's called, you can use ngx also now nowadays. And ng is something I prefer because I 4.5 years been up in last 4 years. I always write this ng, right? I kind of habituated this to this kind of command. So ng new, and the news app I'm going to create, as I told you like earlier. So this is what we are going to create with an Angular application in MongoDB, or maybe Firebase or something. Maybe Firebase for now, and after that we'll be getting into Node.js. After that we'll be writing some scripts and writing some APIs, REST APIs, by using a Node.js with the MongoDB and Express.js, or might be a Fastify. So that plan will be there if you get good response from you guys. So all it's depend upon you now. So once I create that, it will ask me whether I need a router or not. I'm kind of a lazy person, like I don't want to go again to create some routing. I'm going to explain in this section, but the way I use usually, like I click yes and I'll just use SCSS. I love SCSS. After using SCSS, I think after you knowing about an SCSS, you're going to be you'll not be using CSS style sheet in Angular anymore. So this is how I'm going to do. And once after that, I'm going to the Angular routing is done. I'm going to get that routing. It's nothing but here in the app I have something called different. You won't get it in Angular 4 or 2. It's a new thing you got in Angular, because the something it's got deprecated. Some modules are deprecated in Angular 4, so Angular 8 and 9. So here I have something called route module. Okay, so here I have something called route module, so I'm using that as a for route. So first initial stages, I'm going to explain you the basic basic loading. I don't know what exactly we're gonna say that, but that is a basic note. This is just a route. So after that, I'll just explain you how to convert that particular basic loading to a lazy loading. A lazy loading is something which you're going to load something you when it's needed. It's kind of ad hoc. So let me explain you the folder structure we have here. So first thing, you'll be having a news app. This is the main directory. So directory contains a different kind of files and folders into it. So something is a node module. So you're able to see here the package.json, right? So news app, you have a something called name, version, scripts, all those things. So for example, if I want to create I'll just get into the folder and I'll just say name and node, and I'll just open a CMD. So if I want to create any node application, I'll just click on npm init. Once I click on it will ask me the package name I want to create. I'll just say like it's a demo pack. So after that it's going to ask me the name of a package name. Okay, sorry, I gave a demo pack, and the version it's going to be a 1.0.0. So after that description, I'll not give entry point, not give no. So this is what it's going to create: the name, version, description, and a main and scripts, author, and license. The same way, when you create something called the new application in the Angular, so it's also going to use the same way. It's also going to create something called the name, version, scripts. I'll explain each and every scripts why we need it, and something we are going to ignore in the first stages. And dependencies, these are all dependencies for an application. We have something called dev dependencies where we have something like this. So we have called RxJS. These are all built-in things. We get animations, we get in a built-in, and a common modules will get compilers, core, form, all those things we'll get in a built-in way. Okay, it's cool. It's really cool, guys. It's when you're getting into Angular, when you start studying Angular, you feel like you're into some natural language. It gives that way of feeling. I'm talking about me. So that's why. um, so this is how package works. So whatever you are able to see in a node modules, this is nothing but the packages you want your application to be installed. So whatever there in a package, in a dependencies and a dependencies, dev dependencies, it's going to be installed in your application. So for example, I have something called animations, so I'll get it in @animations here. I have something called Angular and have something called animations. So I have something called a common. I have common here, compiler here. So these are all got installed just because to use the particular package in your application, which is going to be a core packages in your application. Well, I hope I am recording. Yes, I record. Yesterday the same thing happened. I explained everything, but I was not recording. So I make sure I cross check every time whether I'm recording or not. So let me tell you the next thing. So here we have something called tsconfig. So here we have the version of ECMAScript we are using, the way we are using, and we have something called modules and the base URL we are going to use. This will be impact when you're creating a production application. When you're going to deploy something in your production, you need to have a base URL, and you have a module, we have a import helpers, all those things are check marks, and a compilers. So I have something called new. I'm going to explain you what is IVB in our next session, or in our coming sessions, so that I'm going to make it true IVB here. In that case, I can make compiler option true here. Yes, this pretty much about tsconfig.json. And we have something very important which we ignore most of the times, that is polyfills. Before that, I'll just explain you the next things. I have something called these are all the testing tools. We have a browser list, which have a versions, and Angular JSON. This is something important, guys. When you have external libraries to be used in your application, you have to initialize the particular things in your application, right? For example, when I create something style sheet which is outside of my application, which is not there in my HTML sheet, I'm going to use a link sheet, right? The same way, I have something called style attribute here, and in style attribute I'm going to declare all the style sheets based upon a priority. So in a future I'm going to involve slick slider in my application. It's a really cool slider, I love it. I'm going to include jQuery also in my application in that case. So I'll be able to show you how to use a scripts and styles, external scripts and styles in your application, rather than getting into it will be in the node modules, but you want to utilize that in your runtime or in your build, then you have to specify in here. Okay, That's cool. And after that we have something called ts lint, and this is when we are it's going to be used when you're creating the application in a new way, so it is like you'll be getting a rules over here as an parameter statements and array type. These are all rules you're going to create, you're going to give to your or your application. So if you're not following the rules which are specified in a ts lint, it's going to be give a ts errors. It's not in a kind of errors, it's going to be kind of a warnings which may or may not work in a production. That's also a negation mark over there. So I have something called spec. It's completely upon a polyfill and jasmine. This when I say spec, it's completely on a the testing thing. And I have something called e2e. So I'm not going to explain now this e2e end to end. So let me get into source. Source itself, it has a lots of things in it. For example, I have a test cs, and I have a style.css. I want to declare CSS because I have created my application a way of a CSS. So it's a style.css, and something called polyfill.ts, something called main.ts. These are all in priority wise. You have something called index.html, where I can if I want to declare a Google Maps or any other kind of stuff which needs to be involved in my index.html only, then I can use it. Nowadays I can use an Angular Google itself, Google Map itself, so I can have the same thing in my module. So that is completely different, but I'm giving an example. So I have something called environment here. So I have a production and the normal environment. So in a production, I'll making a flag as a false to access the production environment, and here it is a false, so there it will be a true. So here I can access, here I can declare my production URLs and a production endpoints, which you're going to learn in a API, REST APIs, how you're going to use it. So don't worry about that now. Okay. So I have something called assets, where I'm going to create, I can create now. I'm going to create something called images here, and I'm going to create one more asset, something called fonts here. I'm going to create something the variables here. So in a variables, I'm going to have something called I usually define the variables in such a manner like variable dot scss. I'll explain why I'm creating this. So these are all comes under assets, and I have something very important which is the heart of this application. That's going to be an app. So app has something called routing module, as I told you earlier, because we checked that routing option. So that's why it's a routing module, and component scss, component.ts, and the spec.ts. This is nothing but you will get a Jasmine kernel here. So we're going to create some test cases also, to don't worry about that. It's a built-in test cases which is going to eat and describe. Okay, cool. Now we are going to have something called app.component.ts, and in HTML I have I'll take you through that once I'm able to. And module is something it's ng module is the module is something which is a combination of the declarations, imports, providers, bootstrap. I can get into some other things. These are all combinations. Okay, it's kind of a bootstrap. So every application has its own bootstrap module. Bootstrap module is a module which is going to be a first module, or is going to be heart of an application. So in my thing, it's a bootstrap is an app component. This is a component. This component is nothing but this. So this is a bootstrap. So I can use my own bootstrap, so not a problem. So let's I think this is pretty much of the folder structure explanation. I think we should start in the next videos, not now. Just digest these things. After that we can eat more. So digestion is important. Okay, and digestion is not like it's not a usual digestion like you eat and if you I don't want to say, but it's not that way. This is a kind of digestion you need to keep with you in a proper way. Okay, because this is thing we are going to explain or you're going to use in an entire application. You have to be sure we have to be very clear in these topics. Okay. Okay then, so yeah, that's pretty much for now, and thank you. So yeah, bye bye. So wait for my next video. Thank you.